Greetings comrades, Soviet Gaming here. Today we have something special on our channel. We are going through engravings with our guests. Yes, we have a guest today, and this is InSeas0n with AFK Arena. Hello.
Hey, I'm the first guest. This is awesome.
So you can tell a little bit about yourself and AFK Analytica for the people who don't know you, if there are any.
Oh yeah, for sure, thanks. AFK Analytica is a group that I kind of created with a few other members. There's almost too many to count, but at this point, it's kind of crazy. But InSeas0n, Seirus, and Grub were kind of the first, main members. And our goal is to do data-driven strategy and bring it to the community and reach as many people as physically possible so they can have a better gaming experience. And that's me.
That's pretty cool. So this is scientific approach to AFK Arena. Fantastic.
Yes, data-driven scientific approach to game strategy in general. Yeah.
And before we start, guys, a small disclaimer. This is an overall estimate, so we need a lot of testing before we can figure out how those engravings will be, if they will be really good. But this first look will help you to figure out which heroes to plan to go for at least. And if you have any further questions, don't forget to write them in the comments. So today we will talk about the engraving for Wilders that was recently introduced in 171 patch, and we will go over all of those heroes and both of us will give some comments. I, as a casual player, will point out what I know about that, and we have our expert here who will give his experienced opinion on that. So we will start with Nemora, the first lady over here. As for the skills, the first skill will give us additional health regeneration for her. So the effect will be way higher by 10%, and the second skill will allow allied hero to additionally recover 100 energy points immediately. So other than 150 energy over time, we will get 100 energy right after the effect will take place. Moreover, on her additional skills over here, when she reaches higher stars, we will get a healing ratio higher, so she will heal more. What do you think about that? Does it make a lot of difference in the end game? Because I heard Nemora is a really good when you go to the high deficit stage.
Yeah, so HR is healing received, if I understand correctly. There's a lot of different abbreviations here. And so that means that she'll get more healing when she is healed. And I think in general, this is pretty good because she has a lot of healing abilities. Also with the new artifact coming out, the harp that generates healing. I think that with the new artifact that came out and with plus HR being added as a stat bonus, we're going to see a lot more healing type compositions and heroes, hopefully. Also with like Life's Grasp, or Life Scraps with Fort Heroes, which also increases healing received. So that's definitely an interesting ability. I kind of wish that it was haste. Probably not as good as haste, but maybe enhance some stall comps.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So next one is Kaz. As far as I know, Kaz isn't really used that much other than in a really late game, and she will get ability to activate her evasive strike more often, so it will be 6-second cooldown instead of 8, and her fill-in finesse. When Kaz will successfully dodge an attack or evasive strike is triggered, she receives additional 10 dodge for 6 seconds, which can stack to 5 times. Which is pretty good in my opinion. What do you think on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I think Kaz is a really good late game hero for her dodge tank ability as well as her energy regen debuff. That's what she's been primarily used for. I'm not really sure about her PvP usage as of now, but I don't know. I think that both of these abilities are very good and, show that she'll maintain value in the late game.
And on star she's getting PP, which stands for physical pierce, and that's a really interesting and new stats. I'm pretty sure that most of the new players don't really know how it works. You definitely know about that. Could you explain it for us a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so PP stands for physical pierce, which I think was a stat that was introduced in AE, Abyssal Expedition, but now we're starting to see it appear in the normal game. Now, this stat is oppositional to physical resistance, which is a stat that you generally get off of gear and other. It's a like endurance or like fortitude or type of thing, trying to like defense, trying to mitigate damage. So physical pierce is something that helps heroes do damage to defense type heroes better. This will probably be, I think physical pierce will be useful at like higher deficit or maybe in PvP type scenarios. It's just a very general stat. I don't it's not like haste where it will scale your hero higher. It's more of a stat that is important based on who you're fighting against more specifically.
It will help against the heroes that have a lot of physical resistance, I understand. So that way agility-based heroes can do better against tanks and physical heroes, basically.
Yeah, so I think that stats like this are good on carries, but on Kaz, who right now isn't being seen as a strong carry, this is maybe more of a throwaway stat, or it might signal that Kaz might be more viable as a carry in the future. But for right now, we're mostly just seeing Kaz as like a dodge tank or a regen debuff. But on other carries, this type of stat is really big, really important. It should leverage their damage output very significantly.
Okay, that's really interesting. Let's move on. Next one we have Lyca. Lyca is a really useful hero early on. In the late game, I think she kinda used more of a battery, but her AF skill at +30 will give you additional duration of your haste buff by 10 seconds, and force fragility will also lower the critical block rate. That's one of the new stats introduced as well, and it will be reduced by 20%. Also, her Engraving will give her additional accuracy, which is really interesting. And do you think that will be worth it with her signature item buff that will actually increase your damage if your accuracy is higher than enemy dodge rating?
Yeah, so I actually had that up as well, and I've been thinking about this a lot. I've been thinking about Lyca investment, and you either can decide to minimize your investment in Lyca and just use her as a buff and battery, or you can try to make her a more resilient buffer that stays alive later during the fight. And I think that this engravement buffs kind of signal the potential of that if you do choose to invest. Now I'm kind of rethinking this crit block rate reduction of 20% is actually potentially pretty big, especially if you're getting 9/9 furniture and maximizing the amount of heroes that you're hitting. So this is really interesting. Like both of these abilities have the potential to be very, very good, but it's hard to say at this current juncture.
So it requires a little bit more testing for us to be sure about that.
Yeah, that's a massive accuracy increase too. So that's interesting. Definitely a standout hero for sure.
So we'll take a note of her and figure out if she's good or not later on with more testing. Next one is Tasi, which is really interesting for me because she is one of my favorite heroes of Wilders, and with the +30 she will get 55% steal of target's attack rating instead of 40, so it's 15 more, which is already pretty good. And at +60 she will get damage increase to 190 of her teleportation passive. So this is really cool, but then again, if you take a look at the Engrave, she will also get haste, so that potentially make her a really, really strong hero, even stronger than she is right now. I want to hear your thoughts on this because I really like that hero, and I want to know if she will be even better than she is now.
Yeah, so I think that we've been seeing a minor and slow decline of Tasi in the supreme late game, which is kind of sad, and I think she's sort of underutilized. But I also think that these engraving bonuses, I think this is what the bonus that players are probably most excited about for Wilder, because all of these just look really solid. Plus plus 12 haste total. You know, stars are really easy to get on faction heroes, so that's pretty big. And both of these abilities modify and increase abilities that are extremely useful and powerful. So this could breathe a little bit, you know, more life into Tasi. And I don't know, I'm excited about them. I think they're good. I think that she's a standout hero, sort of like Lyca. Definitely something to look out for.
Cool. So we have Lyca and Tasi to look for. Next one is Ulmus. I'm not really sure if he's been used in the end game. In the early game, he has not been used at all. But we have to cover it. So he have 240% value of shield. So it will be 20% more. And the passive ability restores 6% of his lost HP per second, which may be really good. As for the Engrave, over here, he's getting additional critical, which is really strange for the tank. Do you think that guy might be useful later on? Is he even useful in the late game?
So it's almost kind of dangerous to talk about Ulmus from like a strategical standpoint, because, okay, here's the deal. For a long time, Ulmus, I think, literally has existed to be a PvE hero, or like to be an opponent, to be like an NPC basically, right? But as time goes on, like looking at these abilities, you know, as a stall hero, you know, he's a phenomenal hero as a stall hero. I don't, you know, I really don't like, okay, we've seen all this plus healing abilities and skills and artifacts being released. You know, every patch, it's looking more and more like Ulmus might have some viability, some use, but primarily in stall type comps. So I don't know. It's really hard to say. Maybe he'll have some use with Flora, or maybe there'll be more stall heroes in the future. But you know, right now it's hard to say if he'll have any use whatsoever. It's pretty safe usually to say that he's gonna see zero usage whatsoever. But you know, who knows?
Yeah, actually, that's one of those Ascended tier heroes that I actually foddered before making them to Ascended tiers, so... And I never regretted that. So yeah, poor guy. Yeah. Alright, next one is Seirus. That guy is kinda interesting because I don't use him that much, so you might have more experience on him. For the Ocean's Blessing, we have higher damage of normal attacks, so that's 3 normal attacks by 240 damage each, which is actually pretty good. And the free flow will have damage value is reduced by 65%, so if he will be attacked by less than 10% of his health, maximum health, he will take only, what, 35% of the damage, which is kinda really low. And as for the stat bonuses, it's CDA, which is what? I'm not really good with those.
Crit damage amplification. Yeah. It's kind of I don't know why. Like, could have just said CA. I think. Yeah, there's a lot of new stats in.
And they kind of renamed them from time to time, so. That was the different name back in the day, and I think they kind of renamed a bunch of those critical damage resistance, and in the current patch they renamed one other critical related stuff.
There's been a lot of renaming and reorganizing of stats, mostly with like attack speed and movement speed and haste, but then now that's kind of crossed over to these other stats.
So what do you think about Seirus? Is he good use with the new engraving? Should someone go for him? Does he get more potential?
I don't know. I think that his pushback abilities are really exciting for Kren comps specifically. But other than that, I haven't seen very much usage with him. So I'm not sure. Maybe we'll see some sort of like Kren comp and PvP, you know, crop up, or maybe in the future some sort of PvE Kren comp. But for right now, you know, I don't have a lot to say about this hero specifically, or the engraving. The engraving just looks sort of okay.
Okay, then let's move on to the next one. We have Eironn here. A lot of viewers probably have questions about him and wondering what will happen. As for the skills, the plus 31 engraving will give him damage boost of 10% to his vortex ability, that's when he pulls the enemies in, and plus 60 will give 65% chance to ignore enemy defense ratings on the Sylvan Oath. So this is really interesting, and it might actually boost his damage a little bit in my opinion. As for the stats, it's physical fierce again, we talked about that already. What do you think? Eironn is still a really useful hero in the mid and the late game. Maybe not the high deficit areas, he's not really shining there that much as before. But will this change something?
So I think that these engravings basically change nothing about Eironn. And I think that these engravings are just to maintain his current position and his current power, not to really shake things up. There's a bit of discussion about, reducing Eironn investment and just using him as a utility pull hero. But I personally don't, it's stylistically, I think that Eironn is still a pretty powerful carry, and his signature items and furniture should be invested in. So I think that this will be a popular engraving to get for most players because he is used so frequently and he's, kind of a off carry if you invest in him, but nothing really exciting. Just we should expect to see that he maintains his value in the future here.
Okay, the next one is Gorvo. This one is really interesting when I read through the engravings and the skill bonuses. On the Shell Shock, we have a really interesting thing here. At plus 30, every time his hammer is charged up, he will receive 10% less damage for 8 seconds, and that can be stacked for 3 times, which is 30% less damage. Plus 60 will give his shield more of potential, so 10% more. And as for the stats go, it's critical damage resistance, so he will be even tankier right now, and that 10% extra times 3 is kinda interesting. So he might be moved a little bit higher in the priority list, I think, after this.
Yes, maybe. I think that his E30 is really good. I think that people will continue to, get plus 10 and plus 20 on him and get a 3-9 furniture. I think that deficit pushers, he's still, mildly popular. I think he's a good hero. I think that these buffs and abilities signal that he, might be even better in the future. He could increase in priority. I don't expect him to, although it is possible. I do think that this opens the door for him as a potential, higher priority hero even.
Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Lorsan, everyone's favorite because you can't really live without Lorsan in any game mode. For the Gale Force, we have if linked enemy dies, the stun will prolong for 7 seconds, so it's plus 2 seconds from 5 seconds. And Wind Ward will increase the value of the shield by 50 additional percent, so it will be 350 in total. But the most interesting thing for Lorsan, in my opinion, is the haste bonus. Same as Tasi, he will get 12 additional haste for 5-star bonus. So, am I right? Is it a good bonus? And moreover, the Gale Force, it opens some new opportunities. 7 second stun is pretty interesting. I think you can use that in several team compositions.
So I think that Lorsan right now and these engravings are potentially and exclusively PvP related engravings. Now let me explain why. I think this Gale Force 7 second, 2 second bonus might be counterproductive for a Thorin comp, let's say, because you might not want the enemies to be stunned. But these bonuses and buffs are extremely good for PvP, and if you are investing in Lorsan. And this maybe opens the door for him to be invested in more in PvE, who knows. But this is definitely a fantastic PvP engravement, and you're gonna see every PvPer at the top end get this for sure. And haste is great, and bonuses are great. It's fantastic. Lorsan's looking good right now.
That's really interesting. So that makes Lorsan not only PvE character, but also a PvP one right now, and even better at that state.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, he has the potential to become a more versatile hero, but he's been pigeonholed in the Thorin comp pretty hard right now. if Thorn comp ever does lose popularity, we probably will see Lorsan become a higher priority hero just in other general compositions.
I wonder if that will ever happen though, because Thoron was a main thing for a while. Let's move on
depending on your stance, hopefully or hopefully not.
Okay, let's move on to Saurus. Saurus is everyone's go-to guy for the Twisted Realm and the boss fights. His plus 30 engraving will give him additional damage to burst strikes, which is really interesting, and plus 60 will give his tenacity bonus, so he will get 12% attack rating bonus to his allies, and defense rating will be increased by 30%, which should give a lot of bonuses. Moreover, yeah, we have physical fears on his normal attacks, on the normal stars, I mean. So, what are you talking about something like this when you're told that carries physical fears is really important? Does it work for Saurus?
I think definitely, but mostly through boss battles, and depending on certain bosses that have physical resistance and ones that don't. It's actually really interesting to look at these ability bonuses because they on paper they look so small, like 2% increased attack rating, okay, on tenacity, but Saurus like scales out of control in these boss battles. Like, you can see how tentative they're trying to be, because if they buff this too much, he'll just get out of control. So for bossing and for events, I think that this will be mandatory for the top guilds, like straight up mandatory. For Twisted Realm, mandatory as well if you're like a competitive, Twisted Realm player. But I think for the average player, I don't think they'll, be as excited about this or want this. Or for PvE campaign, not as exciting. Before Pippa, Saurus was a pretty important hero, I think, for Wilders and Tower and even campaign, kind of. That's tentative. And you might be more excited about it then, but not like the current meta, he's less essential for tower climbing and for campaigns. So this is pretty much an exclusively bossing and event oriented engravement, I think. And the physical pierce also probably aids that as well. So
I would like a little bit about his tenacity ability, since it's only 2%, but it can be stacked up to 5 times, so it's 10% overall, and then part of that will move on to your allies, so as you said, it might really stack up and give insane bonuses, but I think we will need further testing to see if that's really worth it or not.
Yeah, so as far as like bossing goes and this type of stuff, when you're kind of doing analysis and looking at the highest possible damage you can do, the majority of the damage is done in literally the last like 15 seconds or whatever, and so it's almost kind of impossible to like comprehend how high the scaling is, like more than exponential. So yeah, you're like stacking 5 times, and then also you're being scaled by haste. Yeah, that has the potential to be a large damage increase in boss battles for sure.
We'll talk about that guy a bit later when we'll know that info, but now we can talk about Solice. I've heard news, that's not a sure thing, but there are news that she will be reworked, so that might give her more potential, but from what we see right now, plus 30 will give her Floral Spectre additional attack rating, which is really nice, because that flower can attack 2 targets, so that's already quite a good boost. And plus 60 will give Forest Blessing, 2 injured allies will receive the Blessing effect, so that is like additional target, which is really nice. As for the engraving, over here we have haste bonuses as well, which is really good as well. So overall, what are your thoughts on Solice, if she won't be reworked and if she will be reworked?
If she won't be reworked, that's a really hard question, because I am a little biased towards Solice, even though I don't think that she has as much viability right now. I think she's a great looking character. I think that she is a very strong character, and in theory, like on paper, her spawns and her burst potential is really interesting. I think it has a lot of potential, but Right now, she hasn't seen very much usage. And the top 10 Wilder heroes are all very strong, so it's hard to negotiate her as a higher priority. These engraving bonuses, this plus haste, that's great. This forest blessing, increasing the targets of injured allies receiving healing, that's really good as well. Yeah, so I mean, these engravings look good. If she were to get a rework, you know, I already think that she has potential now. If she has a rework that makes her better, and looking at these engravings, you know, she's a real standout. But that's something to look for the rework. I wouldn't be I'm not very excited, you know, if she doesn't get reworked though. I think she'll probably maintain her position, or maybe you know, see a little bit more visibility, but very unlikely in my opinion.
All right. So the next one in the list is Pippa, which is a really wild card character because she used in so many team compositions and she can be used in so many more. As for the engraving bonuses, plus 30 will give her a chance to fail a spell lower for transmogrification, so it will be, instead of 25%, it will be 15%, so the chances are lower, more uptime, more chances of lower RNG. And for the Astral Shift, enemies within the range are stunned for 5 seconds, so it prolonging the stun of the teleport by 1 second. For her engrave stats, it will be dodge bonus. As far as I know, most usage for Pippa right now is in the Tauren comp team composition, right? What do you think? Will this Astral Shift help her with her role over there? And what's your overall opinion on those additions?
Good question. Okay, so pointing out the Astral Shifts specifically, yeah, I think that's a great ability in whichever composition she's used in it. She's used in like a portal party type composition with like Odin. If she's using Thorn comp, I think that will actually be useful. I actually don't think that will be a nerf specifically. You usually want that first target stunned for longer. I think Pippa's versatility is actually a lot more diverse than just Thorn comp. The transmogrification reduction, that 10%, that looks good on paper. Now, I think in PvE, I think that is not literally useless, but basically useless, because in PvE, you're able to retry a bunch of times. You kind of leverage that, and that 10% will end up being kind of marginal. Now, in PvP, if you're using Pippa, that's a big deal and pretty useful. The consistency of your compositions will go up. Now, this dodge stat bonus, this is kind of goofy and kind of interesting. Now, I have been thinking about dodge on sorcerer heroes for a long time, and it's just kind of perplexing to me. They get plus dodge in the Dura tree, okay? And they're basically getting stacked dodge. Also, there are probably some dodge bonuses in the engraving. So, Pippa will have a lot of dodge. Now, is that significant? Will she be a dodge tank like sorcerer? I don't know, but definitely kind of interesting. Oh, I saw on there plus 100 dodge.
Yeah,
I don't even
level
think
80.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if that calculates in the star bonuses. Who knows? But I don't know. It's just something. I don't think it's a wasted stat. I think it is a relevant stat. How much it's relevant, I'm not certain, but very interesting. I think that she's a standout. I think people will want to get her.
All right, so let's see who else we have left. We have a Respen. I don't really use Respen at all because he's descended, but I heard that he is really good in PvP. Plus 30 will give his winged attack 10% more damage once every 3 seconds, so it's not that crazy huge increase in my opinion. For the winged protection, the shield will last longer, extended to 8 seconds from 6 seconds, so it's 2 additional seconds for the shield. Personally, since I don't use him, I can't tell that much, but those skill bonuses don't really matter that much, because shield will be taken out before the duration will end, most likely, and this bonus is not that really huge, but the star bonuses for attack speed are interesting. What can you tell me about this guy?
Yeah, My cat just came to say hello, so Oscar says hello. But here's my thoughts kind of on this. So Eironn, Respen, and Raku, I think they all kind of fit in the same category of agility heroes that, you know, can kind of function as carries as well as have a little bit of utility. You know, that's kind of a broad statement. So, you know, on all three of these heroes, these abilities are not going to look very spectacular, right? If they were like crazy, if they looked really strong, then we'd have a problem, because then we'd have a large shift in the meta, which, you know, is, I mean, that could be okay, but I don't think that they want to make any ability, especially on really strong heroes as they are, too strong, because, you know, then you're gonna have, you know, massive imbalances. You don't want that type of stuff. So it's good, I think, to see, you know, these abilities being, you know, kind of boring. But this attack speed, that looks good. I think that the first ability bonus to damage looks okay, and I think the protection shield duration isn't good, isn't exciting, but, you know, it's not horrible either. In PvP, we're seeing a lot of Respen. I think that's good. I think in PvE, well, we see Respen a lot in Wilder Tower. Now, as far as campaign, we don't see him as much, but I think that in the future we'll see him a lot more. I'm actually really excited about Respen as a hero in general. Most people pick Kaz over him in top 10 priority. I think that Respen is worth the gamble. I think he's really good, and I think these engravings, you know, kind of make him look better. Although I think that second ability could have been a little bit better. But other than that, looks okay. Looks okay.
So the next one is Raku. We talked about him just a little bit already, and let's take a look at his abilities. Plat Theory will give his package duration extension to 10 seconds, so it's from 8 to 10 plus 2 seconds. That's more attack bonuses for longer. Then Raku's Mark, which will, like, this is interesting. Whenever an enemy target is under the effects of a control ability, Raku will additionally target them with his normal attack over the next 6 seconds. So if you use someone like Tasi and do crowd control, does it work for all the enemies and he will attack them all? This is, like, I really need explanation on this one. This is crazy.
Well, yeah, well, so this is kind of misleading, because this is actually just an enhancement of 4 seconds to 6. But yeah, this is why Raku is really good, and that 6 seconds is relevant. Like, yeah, that's of Eironn, you know, Respen and Raku's ability bonuses here. That's probably one of the better ones. Hopefully, don't want to talk too soon, but yeah, it looks really good. The crit damage amplification by like 20 is massive. That's pretty big, especially on him. The peckish isn't super exciting, you know, pretty marginal, but I think he'll be a really popular Wilder choice. He might even be #1 priority for PvE. I don't know. That's, yeah. You know, I don't think that these are like massive, but these look really good for Raku specifically, and he's a really strong hero right now, and yeah.
Alright, so he's even strong, but he will be even better with those, probably. Yeah. The next one is... Okay, that's it. There are no more Wilders. This is the last one.
Yeah, we did it.
So what's your overall thoughts on the engraving, on those guys, and who would you put in like top 3 guys to get engraving on? I understand that plus 30 is kinda cheap, so even the free-to-play guys can get several guys to plus 30, but plus 60 for free-to-play guys, it's almost like it's taking a while, let's put it like that. It's taking a while to build plus 60 hero. So how would you rate those guys for engraving? Who should everyone go for?
Yeah. So, okay. This is a hard question. Let me think about this for a second. I think for the average player, I think for PvE focused player, maybe this is a little bit biased, but I think Eironn, you can't really go wrong with his 60E. But I will say that might not be a super popular position. I think Raku, This is okay. Wait. Well, here I don't have 3, but I will say. Well, no, maybe I do have 3. Eironn, Raku, and Tasi, I think, are likely to be the most popular and probably are the safest choices. And all of those are really good. I don't think that Raku's 60E is going to be a game changer, and I'd rather maintain Eironn value. So I'd probably say Eironn. Ooh, this is tough. It's either Eironn, Tasi, Raku, or Tasi, Eironn, Raku. I think, you know, on the peripheral of that, I would just say Pippa and Respen look really interesting to me. And then as sort of a final note for PvP, Lorsan is going to be really popular and good, a high priority. And then for events and bosses, Saurus. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot because we started her so early. Lyca.
And Lyca.
I don't know, man. It's tough.
There are so many good options, and when I read about those engraving and skills, I was like, whoa. Because I really was expecting them to be not that good, and I was like, okay, that won't be that crazy. But every hero, like 60% of the heroes are good, and you want to build them all up. What should we do? Because we don't have resources for all of those.
Well, yeah, so I want to preface this by saying, like, Lilith, this is why Lilith is the master, right? Because, you know, people want to sit back and say, oh, these abilities aren't, you know, fun and interesting. But because the cost is a little bit higher, or it takes longer to get them, that makes it more important to select the right abilities. And so, you know, you want to be really certain that you're making the right choices, and that puts a lot more attention and excitement on these. So, you know, how do you go about prioritization? I mean, that's something that we'll have to be thinking about quite a bit. But I think for the average player, the normal player, you generally want to select the heroes that you use the most, and you generally want to focus on carries because they'll have the largest impact on your progression and your ability to progress in general. But for some of these like really hardcore guys, these are going to be some really tough decisions, especially pushers who are, you know, trying to be on the cutting edge and really push the deficit. They're going to have some really difficult questions here because there's a lot of wild cards, like that Nemora 60E with the energy. You know, that's interesting. Lyca, the haste, you know, bonus, as well as, you know, the other stats. It's like, well, Lyca's finally, you know, start putting out some damage here. Like, maybe like that debuff, that negative 30% crit block. That's pretty big. I don't know. That's probably a top 3. So.
Take a look at this. Overall, at level 80, she will get 140%, 140 accuracy for Lyca.
Yeah. From the engraving alone. Okay, so here's something about Lyca. She has like one of the highest attack percent coefficients in the game. So when they calculate the attack bonus or the attack stat, she gets one of the largest portions of attack in the game. And so whenever I see like the attack bonuses, or I mean this accuracy will contribute to attack through her skills, and then also with the crit block debuff, you know, she might be putting out a lot of damage here. I don't know.
Moreover, that crit debuff will work not only for her but for the whole team, so it will buff everyone's damage. So hard to pick the right options.
Yeah, I think that Eironn and Lyca will be, you know, very high priority and top heroes, and then, you know, Raku and Tasi, and then on a tier below that, maybe Respen and Nemora and Gorvo. But you know, that's the safe answer because that's kind of meta right now. But you know, Gorvo, Nemora, you know, Respen, those are some interesting ones for sure to look at if you want to experiment, I'd say.
So the general advice for the most players would be to engrave the guys who they use the most and start focusing on the carries. That will be the safest way because they already use those guys, and that will just make them stronger and let them allow to progress more with the stuff that they have already, right?
Yeah. Generally, high frequency heroes, high usage heroes, and generally carries. Those are the kind of the safe investment strategies, especially for engravings now here.
So I think we had a really good discussion here today. I knew that would be good, but I didn't expect it to be that good. I learned a lot from you. Thank you very much. And
you underestimated me, Sophia. I had a great time coming and chatting with you, and I'd love to do it again in the future. I love your channel. I hope the best to you. Oh, I also want to shout out AFK Analytica again. I actually have a website, afk-analytica.com. I just post data and analysis there, putting up some visual guides there. I want to have like a lot more content there as well. And eventually maybe I'll start making some YouTube content. Maybe. We'll see.
Alright, the link for the AFK Analytica will be in the video description, guys, so you can check it over there. And I think for now that will be it. Thank you for coming over. That was a really interesting discussion here. And guys, don't forget to write in the comments what do you think about the current discussion. If you have your own opinion, voice it over there. While you go into the comments, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends and guildies, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell button, and check the video.
Smash the like button.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Do all of that and check the video description and the pinned comment for the links. We have more AFK Arena guides over there, AFK Arena hero breakdowns, and you can go to AFK Analytica from there as well. Also join my Discord, because it's a nice place to be and we're building a crazy community and you would like to be a part of it. Thank you for watching. Soviet out. До свидания.